Welcome
I have no idea what's going on, guys. This could be a major fiasco.
to Lighting for Profits, your number one source for all things landscape lighting. Powered by Emery Allen. From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing.
And I'm almost like, okay, is this where I get beat up in front of my friends? Like, what's going to happen?
We discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
That's what I like.
Now, here is your host, Ryan Lee.
What is up? Welcome to the number one landscape lighting show in the world. It's Lighting for Profits, powered by Emery Allen. Man, it is already Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern, which means we're about to have a lot of fun. If you are looking to start or grow your landscape lighting business, then you are definitely in the right place. Thanks for being here live, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or you're listening to the podcast later. I just appreciate your support. If you are here live, make sure to say hi in the comments and be part of the conversation. In fact, today we are going to have a pretty technical discussion. You know, I'm really heavy on the business side, and you know, I like that. It's my thing. But today we're going to get into some of the technical nitty gritty of the landscape lighting business. So here to, you know, always educate and motivate, but most importantly, help you dominate your lighting business. So what is up, Tommy Heron? Thanks for being here, brother. Good to see you. We are going to have an awesome show, super technical. I mean, it might even go over my head. I'm not even sure, but we're going to have our guest is the one and only Tom Garber with Emery Allen. So he's going to be here to help settle the score. We're going to talk about some of the most frequently asked questions we see coming up in the Facebook groups and stuff like that. And we reached out and we said, hey, what questions do you guys have? And we got some volunteers to ask some good questions. So really looking forward to it. And make sure you guys stick around. Also, we are going, well, I don't know. One of the new things with the show, I rolled this out last week, a new segment called Gift Card Giveaway. And we're going to continue that this week. So you can actually get paid to listen. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. We try to put on the best show we can every single week, but we're also going to give you an opportunity to get paid to listen. So you're going to actually have a chance to win a gift card for our gift card giveaway in just a few minutes. So we're doing it. We're going to ask a question. The first person to answer the question correctly is going to get free money. So stick around and make sure you're part of that. So, and you know, we're having Tom Garber. He's the CEO, the big cheese at Emery Allen, and I really am grateful for our relationship. I'm grateful for our partnership in putting out this podcast. And really, guys, you know, they have a lot of things, and we'll talk about some of those today. What sets them apart, but really, what sets Emery Allen apart is more than just the bulbs, right? Bulbs aside, they believe that customer satisfaction should be the top priority, always, every single time. And Emery Allen goes out of their way to ensure lighting professionals have access to the best light sources built with the highest quality components suited specifically for the landscape lighting industry. And so you guys know this, at the end of the day, it's what's on the inside that counts. So the offer that Tom has agreed to do is they're going to give you 10% off, still give you that world-class customer service on your first order for new clients. So email him, Tom G, at emeryallen.com. And remember, they do offer discounted pricing. So, you know, keep it on the down low. Okay, this isn't like website pricing. So just email him, Tom G, at emeryallen.com, and get your account set up today. So, yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be one of the more technical episodes. I love business. I love talking about profits, of course. I love talking about helping you go from operator to owner. I love talking about culture and all these different things that happen on a daily basis in our business. But one of the things that is a reality is the technical side of it. And there is some confusion out there on the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things and everything else. So we're going to pick his brain and see if we can get some clarity around some of the confusion that's out there. So before we have Tom on, I want to real quickly talk about something, and I want to talk about the long game. The long game. You see, when I, man, I was gonna say when I started my business, but even when I started this business, it's like if you're an entrepreneur, you suffer with this disease. You want instant gratification, right? And basically, all humans almost probably suffer with this. We want results now, right? And a lot of people ask me, "Oh, landscape lighting secrets." They kind of tease me, "What's the secret?" Right? It's like, well, I don't know. No, a lot of people want to know what the secret to success is, right? The magic formula. What is the get rich quick scheme? And I'm sorry to break it to you guys. I don't like to be this guy, but most of the overnight success stories that you hear about, they took 10, even 20 years, sometimes 30 years to create. Okay. Uh, there's not a high percentage of people that are overnight successes. It actually takes a thing called work. And the thing that most people underestimate, and I've thought about this a lot. This is something that really, I think, one of the main reasons why most startups don't work, why the majority of businesses fail within 1 and 5 and 10 years, is most people underestimate the amount of effort. Okay, if I could capitalize all caps effort in my voice, I would capitalize it. So just imagine the word effort in all caps. They truly underestimate the amount of effort that is required to put in to growing a business. It takes long days. It takes late nights. It takes all these things to rise to the top. And man, people just don't realize this. It's hard work, And so kudos to you if you've been in your business, really where it doesn't matter wherever you're at. If you've only been in your business 6 months, well, you're 6 months further than you were 6 months ago, right? If you've been in business 5 years, that's so much further than you were before, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, you got to stop and celebrate the successes and the amount of effort that you've gotten to get to this point because honestly, most people don't have what it takes. And so here's the real secret. I wrote down the real secret. The real secret is the only way to truly fail in business is to not take a shot. Lack of effort is a proven way to fail. And the path to success is built upon effort. The path to success is built upon effort. And so I want to encourage you guys, no matter where you're at, to keep taking, keep making effort, right? Keep taking shots. And if you look around you, the people that are usually trying to discourage you, they're people that aren't willing to take shots. They aren't people that want to put effort into things, right? And the majority of people out there, especially when they try to start a business, they try something once or maybe even twice. But when it doesn't work, what do? They stop, right? And then begins this downward spiral of self-esteem, and they think they're not good enough. And, maybe it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't my time. They really struggle with their self-esteem. And if you've owned your business for really any amount of time, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to self-esteem. Sometimes we get imposter syndrome, like, man, maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I can't do this, right? And if you give up after you try something once or twice and you give up, then maybe you don't have what it takes. But if you're the type of person that will continually persist, then you do have what it takes, right? And so there's so many different scenarios in the landscape lighting world where these quote unquote failures, which I just call learning experiences, can really hurt your self esteem. Maybe you've tried hiring somebody. Maybe your first hire. I mean, the first time you try to hire someone, it usually doesn't work. I don't know. I should have probably done a poll on this, but how many of people out there have hired their very first person and they've been with them forever? I'm sure that happens every once in a while, but that means you're really a good leader. You know how to do culture and everything else. But most of the time, we hire someone, it doesn't work because we don't know how to lead. We don't know how to manage. We don't know how to train. Maybe you've tried direct mail. I hear people tell me, "Oh, I tried this, I tried that with marketing. It's just not working." Well, direct mail is a classic case of this. The first is the worst. And so if you've tried it just one or two, maybe 3 or 4 times, and it hasn't worked, it's because you haven't done it enough. You haven't put enough effort into it. And maybe it's not just the amount of effort of how many times, but are you putting effort into understanding what your message needs to be? What is your call to action? What does your landing page look like? What does your intake scenario look like? Maybe you tried the same thing with Google ads, Facebook, maybe even emails. It's like, I've heard everyone say, these don't work. It's because of the lack of effort. All these are tools that work if you put in the right amount of effort. Knocking doors. I mean, I started my business by knocking doors. And so it may not be the best, like most efficient way, but it works. Okay. I know a lot of people that have knocked a lot of doors and had a lot of success. But the one thing that knocking doors requires that most people don't have is effort. Okay. And luckily I learned this really kind of the hard way, but it was a good way. When I got my first sales job, I'd call 100 to 150 people a day, cold call, and they had no idea I was going to call. They had no idea who I was or what I offered or anything like that. And I was the top salesperson because I called more people every single day than anybody else. I wasn't any more special or anything like that. I just put in more effort. I literally just put in more effort. And there was people, like, I would hear their like sales calls. I was like, man, that's smooth. That is sick. Like, they could totally outsell me, but I would like double, triple their sales because I would double or triple my call volume. Right. Maybe you've tried calling on builders and you got, they don't produce, they don't give me good leads, or they seemed excited, but they're not doing anything. Again, lack of effort. Maybe you tried setting up demos. Some people have never set up a demo and they've got a highly successful business. That's great, right? But if you're struggling getting sales, the demo is a great way to do it. And if you've only done it a few times, well, you just need more effort. You're not that good at it yet. So, as I kind of reflect on where I'm at today and where I'm at so far in my life and in my career, almost everything I've ever tried rarely worked the first time like the way I wanted it. And I mean, more than just the first time, like I guess I'm a slow learner. I don't know, but like it takes me several times to get stuff to work. And the only reason where I'm at today is because I didn't quit. I just kept pivoting and trying new things and trying to be better, faster, smarter. Right. And so, and it's not like I've got it all figured out. I'm still learning. I'm still getting better. I'm still pivoting. I'm still doing what it takes to get better and better each day. So, in order to build a business and, not a job, a lot of us have jobs. And even me right now, I have a job. I don't even have this full built out business yet with Landscape Lighting Secrets. But in order to build a business, and not a job that pays you decent, but an actual business, it takes time. And it takes persistence, and it takes a high self-esteem. And I really just want to hopefully be the voice of encouragement for you guys today, because most of us are not satisfied with where we're at today. And that's okay. That's a sign of a future all-star entrepreneur, because you're not satisfied with mediocrity, right? But it's also a bad place to be in a mindset if you're thinking, I wish I was better. Why am I not there? And you're always questioning yourself, because you need to stop and celebrate where you're at today, which is the exact opposite of what a lot of coaches are like, hustle, 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 right? And I'm talking about effort, but I'm also talking about, what? Recognize where you've come and celebrate that, so that you're not always being depressed about where you're at now. You should celebrate where you're at now. You can have a goal for where you want to be in 5 years, but understand it takes 5 years to get there, right? And it's not going to happen by tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week. Without getting into too much detail, I've always wanted to work out, and I started really small. I used to go like, I'm going to work out, and then I would just kill myself for like an hour, and then I wouldn't be able to work out for like 3 days because I was just wasted. So I started this new strategy, and so far it's been awesome, where I did 20 push-ups a day, and it was really hard to stop at 20. I was like, I can do way more than this, but I was disciplined to stop because I knew that if I kept going, I would be too tired the next day. So I stopped at 20, and now I worked up to 25, then 30, now 35, and I'm going to keep stacking it on there until I'm comfortably able to do the workout that I want. So sometimes we have to throttle ourselves, and that's not easy to do, but it's the only way to do this. It's the long game. Okay. Otherwise you're going to get burnt out and you're going to quit. You're going to fail like all the other 99% of the business. I think it's 90% of businesses fail within 5 years or whatever. So throttle yourself and understand it takes time. Okay. You see some of these landscape lighting legends, these guys that have amazing designs and huge projects. They weren't born like that. They learned, they put in the work, they put in the effort, and that's what makes them special. So, all right, guys, it is time. We are going to pivot. Speaking of pivoting, we're going to get to our guests. So let's figure this out. You guys with me? Are you guys ready? Let's do this. What's up, Owen? What's up, Dennis? What's up, James? Thanks for being here, guys. You guys ready? What is up? Welcome to the show, Mr. Tom Garber. What's up?
Hey, Ryan. How are you?
Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
So let's figure out how to get this back. Oh, there we go. Man, we look good now. All right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate your friendship, partnership. It's been a blast getting to know you over the last year. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you very much.
So this is going to get technical. You know, I don't know, like you're like all calm, cool, collective, but I'm like, man, we're going to get into some technical nitty gritty stuff here. I'm a little nervous, but you know, it's easy for me to talk sales, marketing, pricing, business. I don't even have to study for that. This stuff, you know, we're going to get into this, which I think is going to be super helpful. As I stated before, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of people's opinions that aren't necessarily facts. In fact, I'll probably give some of my opinions today that aren't necessarily facts either, but it'll be good to have the discussion. And so let's jump into it. And I am going to do, guys, I'm going to do the gift card giveaway. I'm sorry, the gift card giveaway in just a few minutes. So, but before we do that, let's get into some of these technical questions.
How much is the gift card, Brian?
Huh?
How much is the gift card?
$50.
$50. Okay.
$50. I'll do it. I think I'm just doing a Visa gift card, cash card, you know, Visa gift card.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think I'll keep doing it. You know, it was an idea that I had for someone that came and did a training with me. It was Michelle with Jill's office, and she did a giveaway. I was like, man, that's a good idea. So we're doing gift card giveaway now. Gift card giveaway.
Question last week.
What's that?
You had a tough question last week.
For who? For me?
No, it took a while to get the right answer.
I know. I didn't think it was that hard. I'm a CLVLT, man. So this one is, it's, you know, I'm not going to do easy questions, but I'm not going to make them impossible.
You got to earn your $50, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to do is basically, you know, I asked in some of the Facebook groups if people had questions. And so we're just going to kind of go down that list and see what your thoughts are on some of the stuff. So,
great.
And by the way, I don't even know if I have a bio for you. Tom is the owner, the CEO, the president, the man, the myth, the legend of Emery Allen. So, you guys have been in business for how long? When did you start Emery Allen?
Emery Allen started a little over 7 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are
landscape lighting for a little over 30 years. So,
and something that I guess I knew, but I didn't realize is that, yeah, you have other bulbs, you know, like I always just think of landscape lighting as like the traditional ones, but I actually got a freezer bulb from Emery Allen. So if you need freezer bulbs, you can get those from Emery Allen. And even like, you know, I thought Bistro Lighting, I thought that was going to be a trend that lasted like a couple of years. I mean, that thing just keeps going and going and going. So Bistro lamps, like you guys have basically any style of light bulb, light lamp out there. So
yeah, we have over 300 SKUs, and we actually got started on decorative fixtures for inside of houses and commercial buildings and things like that. And things evolved and got into you know, the natural progression was just to get into landscape lighting.
All right, cool. Well, let's talk about landscape lighting. One of the first questions was, what are the benefits and drawbacks of a single source LED?
Well, from a manufacturer's standpoint.
Let me actually reverse. What
Okay.
let's talk about what is a single source LED versus non-single source.
So this is a single source LED. This is one chip, also known as a cob chip on board. And this is a multi-chip. How we do this here. This is a multi-chip PC board. This one has, I believe, 6 different emitters on it. And, you know, you've seen a lot of people start off with, you know, this type, and then recently, you know, they've gone back to the single point LED.
So why would someone want a single source LED and why would someone want a multi-chip?
Well, again, from a manufacturer standpoint, to take a multi-chip LED, in this case, 6 chips, you look at the size of the board and everything, there's a large area in the back which helps dissipate the heat a lot more evenly. A lot easier to do when you have, rather than having the concentration of all of the chips on the center of that. So they're both of these chips produce 5 watts, but you spread the heat a lot more evenly across a multi-chip versus a smaller single point chip. And to see the difference of the two, you know, it's probably about 3/16 of an inch in diameter difference. So it's a lot easier to maintain, control the heat with a multi-chip than it is a single chip.
Okay, so we know that heat is obviously a killer of LEDs, and that's something that's got to be managed. So you're managing the heat. What else? Like even just from a design and installation standpoint, where does when I used to show a picture to my clients of different fixtures up against a white wall, and you see the lines, right, where some of them have like almost they're just really bad designs where it almost V's out. Some of them have like a yellow and then a white and like purple hue and stuff like that. Does that come more from the lens or does that come from having a multi-chip board?
I think that it mostly comes from the lens. If you're using a cheap optic, this is also known as multi-point, is a culminator, where it has 6 different areas that direct each of the chips into a focal point to give you the beam angles and all of that. So if you're not purchasing, if you're not designing, if you're not buying a good quality lens, you can get exactly what you're talking about. The thing that you can't get away from is the shadowing effect that you would potentially get out of a multi-point. And that's where a lot of people have switched over to the single point, where is the optic is centrally located, and it gives you more of a, much more controlled beam angle. There's one beam of light, you're not going to get any of the shadowing. So where does it make a difference? Architectural elements on the outside of a house, you're doing a white wall or whatever. Inside of a house, people are lighting up artwork or walls inside their house. They certainly don't want to see all of the shadows and all of that goes along with that. So I think the trend is to go with more of a single point LED than it is to have a multi-chip LED.
Okay. And is your obviously the MR16 is very popular lamp out there. What is your number one seller? Is it single source or is it multi?
We don't have any multi-source other than lamps, bulbs that are used for like path lights or pendants or something like that. So we designed our MR16 specifically for the application so that you don't get any shadowing or anything like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to come back to light bulb specific questions when we get down to some of these other ones. I want to Rob asked a question: if a photocell leaked small amounts of voltage consistently, would it damage LEDs?
Well, it really depends. It depends mostly on the circuit design, how well it's protected. There's two things that will ruin an LED, whether it's an integrated fixture or an LED lamp, and that's bad current, voltage, or excessive heat. So it may or may not, depending on how consistent the leakage is and all of that. The best thing to do is just avoid it. If you have a problem with a photocell, you should definitely just replace it.
Yeah, I stopped using photocells, not because of that. I honestly, I would have never even thought of that. I just didn't like photocells. So I guess that's one way to avoid the problem.
Sure.
I guess it kind of ties into damaging LEDs and stuff like that. Chris had a question: what are the voltage ranges that an Emery Allen MR16, and we'll just throw in there what voltage ranges of any Emery Allen bulb will operate optimally?
It all depends on the size of the bulb. You throw in all the different ones. If you have something as small as a 1 watt G4 or something, the voltage is controlled a little bit tighter. But can you pull up that first chart that I had sent you in the PowerPoint?
I mean, you're asking me to do a lot right now.
I'm sorry.
This is going to get awkward. All right, let's see. Let's try this. Let me make this bigger.
Can you get it on one screen?
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's split in between.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because of, yeah. I got you. Let me check with my producer. Yeah, is that better?
No. There you go. That's better. Okay, so here is one of our 5 watt.
Whoa. Did that screw it up?
No, it was good where it was. That's perfect right there.
All right.
Okay, so this is one of our 5 watt MR16s. And if you start in the center at 12 volt, that's what the bulb is designed for. And then if you go to the left or to the right, you can see if you increase that up to 16 volts, you're only picking up 5 lumens or a little bit less. So there's not a big variation between going from 12 to 16 volts. Our bulbs are designed to dim, so you can dim those down to, 3 volts or something like that. So it will maintain that lumen range, and it'll start dropping off about 10 volts, 9 volts a little bit more, 8 volts a little bit more than that. So, obviously, if you want to keep consistency, somewhere between 10, 11 volts up to 16 volts, you'll stay the most consistent. So you can see the luminous efficacy, or the lumens per watt, is pretty consistent across the board. We produce all of our MR16s are high power factor, so we're up there close to 0.9. Design at the 12 volt, you receive the highest amount of power factor at 0.91, and then you can see the power right down to the VA. So that 12 volt bulb, that 5 watt bulb, at 12 volts is producing or using 4.84 watts. Total VA is 5.24. So we've been able to control the VA by having as high of a power factor as possible.
So let's pause and talk about this for a minute, because this is a real thing, and that power factor number, this 0.91, is really high. Where some manufacturers, you might have a 5-watt lamp, and the VA right here might be, I mean, I don't know, you tell me, 7, 8, maybe even higher.
From what we've measured, if you're not doing the right things to your lamp, your power factor will drop down to 0.7, 0.6, in which the VA will go up to 7 volts, or excuse me, 7 watts, 7.5 watts, 8 watts. So you consume a lot more power with a lower power factor than you do with a higher power factor.
Yeah, and I want to bring this up because I think a lot of people think, oh, it's LED, it's easy, just put a bunch of lights on there, and so they'll get a bunch of 5-watt lights, let's say, and if they don't have that high power factor, they're actually grabbing a bunch of 7 or 8-watt lights, and then all of a sudden they wonder why the system either doesn't turn on or they're having voltage issues down the road because they calculated it based on it being a 5-watt light 30 times over or whatever.
Right, and I think that people are getting a lot more intelligent with looking for specific information about the electrical properties of a lamp. And in the past, people weren't asking so much for VA, and now it's more and more, you've got to put it on the box. You have to put it, on the bulb if you can, so that when you're doing your calculations, that you can use the right size transformer with something with a landscape run.
So are like that chart we were looking at, it also showed how it affects the amps. I was always under the impression that I was just going to volt the fixtures at the highest voltage. Like when I say the highest voltage, like 15. And let's say I ran just like a hypothetical scenario. I haven't run the voltage drop calculator, but let's just say you had you put on the 15-volt tap and a fixture was 5 feet away from the transformer, and then you ran 200 feet down, right? And let's say that first fixture was 15 volts, according to that chart. It shows us what the lumens were or whatever. And then if I went down to 11 volts, as long as it was within that range, would we expect there to be less heat because there's lower amps at the higher voltage?
That's a really good question. And I was thinking of that earlier on this week because we knew we were going to talk about this. But I measured 2 separate lamps. One that was with a high power factor, 0.9. The other one with 0.7, 0.72 or something like that. Then I put it on an aging bench, and we did some thermal measurements, and it's pretty doggone close. I thought that there would be a big difference in the amount of heat that would be used on a lower VA versus a higher VA. And it wasn't the case. It was within a couple of degrees. So it's more research that we have to do. Now, that was just case temperature, outside case temperature. I didn't have time to crack it open or use a thermal imaging camera to find out what the temperature was of some of the components on the inside. But again, I was surprised that it was very, very close.
Okay, that's interesting. So I told someone yesterday, and I'm just going to go ahead and ask this live just in case I'm wrong, then we can, be embarrassed. But I told someone yesterday that it doesn't matter then. I mean, I told them to check with whatever manufacturer they're using. But I said, according to what I know, you could hook every single run up to the 15-volt tap, even if it's right there close to it. Is that bad advice to tell someone that they could just hook everything up to the 15-volt tap?
No, it would. according to my chart here, it would it'd be right in line. We shouldn't have any problems with that. You're producing 100 lumens per watt at a 5-watt lamp, producing 449 lumens. So there's no problem with that either. So what happens is that, each circuit is designed for a high end and a low end. Obviously, we don't have anything on the low end, but there's some things that you have to do to go higher than 16 volts, 17, 18, 20, 24 volts for those that are using 24-volt transformers. And so there's a lot of components on the inside that have to change in order to accommodate it. But once you start changing some of those components, you lose out on efficacy, you lose out on a lot of other things. So we just kept in mind, 1838 UL landscape transformers are, have the range up to 15. So obviously we went a little bit higher than that. You're perfectly fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just remember seeing the charts back in the halogen days where I can't remember exactly, but like at 12 volts, it was like the Ushio MR16, whatever. At 12 volts, it said it would last like, was it five? I think it was 5,000 hours or something like that. But if you volted at 11.9, you'd get an extra 500 hours, and 11.8, 7, and like 11.5, I think was the sweet spot before it would start diminishing again and say, okay, then at 11.4, you actually start losing more life again.
Right.
So I didn't know if that all goes away with the technology of LED.
Correct. Just like on 120 volt stuff, if somebody says, oh, I've got a G4 bi-pin, it keeps on going out, and I'm running at 120 volt, I'd always say, go out and buy a 130 volt bulb. So the tungsten wire is a little bit larger in diameter and all of that, maybe an extra winding or something. And just by going and buying a 130 volt bulb where it's being burnt at 120, you will get less lumens, but the life is like incredible. It'll be like 40% higher, something like that.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So let's move on to Dan had a question about, okay, what are the best resources for someone to learn how to handle installs by the book? There's a general sense of, if it's low voltage, just get the wire there however you can, that I doubt would hold up to an inspection. So let's talk about, NEC, UL, some of those types of things. Then there was kind of a follow-up. There's NEC, which we're all supposed to follow, but most don't. That's the book we're supposed to follow. Prime example, installing lights within 10 feet of a pool and stuff like that. So how does someone learn more about what they can and can't do and should and shouldn't do?
There's nothing like experience, to help you learn more and more about that. But the CLVLT is a great place to start with the AOLP. You and I took the test, this year. Covers an awful lot of stuff. I mean, as long as you follow their rule book, I would say it probably takes into account, I don't know, 75, 85% of the applications that are out there. That's a great place to learn. There are also study guides available when you sign up for the CLVLT. I think it's like 63 pages or something like that. It was pretty crazy. Another good resource is Paul Gosselin's book, the Landscape Lighting Guide. He has a great book, covers a lot of the same things. Maybe it's a little bit easier read than the CLVLT study guide. So I would highly encourage people to, pick up Paul's book. And then, third thing, I always thought that, ALP has started this, I believe it was them that started the whole mentor program. Get yourself a mentor. The people in this industry are very, very good about sharing information, and you have a problem, you get stuck on something or whatever, give somebody a call, ask them a question. I wouldn't go on Facebook and try to, air all of your stuff over that, because you don't know if you're getting the right information. I'd call a mentor and see what they thought of that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and I would say this, I mean, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, like we talk about like how to get wire in certain locations, and you know, the actual code is like, you've got your direct burial low voltage wire. You shouldn't be taking that into a home. You shouldn't be taking that into a soffit. Just because 99% of the people do doesn't mean you should, and just because it's not going to get inspected doesn't mean you should. So there's just different ways to do it. I might yeah, so I would say I think someone even asked, like, is since it's low voltage, does NEC apply? And it definitely applies,
Absolutely. Absolutely applies. NEC, the NEC is written about safety, not the integrity of the system. You can do a lot of things, but it might not last. And that's why, I say go back to the CLVLT study guide, Paul's book, and all of that. And just because someone shows the way that they're doing it doesn't mean it's correct. Personally, I would think, the rules of 1838 and all of that, but you better not be going inside of a house, because the rules really change a lot once you go inside of somebody's house with different classifications of transformers, wiring types, and all of that. So,
well, that's a good point. There is a huge difference between UL and NEC. The UL, just because a transformer or low voltage lighting system, you could buy all your wire, fixtures, transformer, everything could be UL, and you're like, man, I'm good, like I'm safe. But as soon as you start to apply it or install it against the NEC code, that's when you're gonna open it up for a can of worms and potential problems, because it was UL listed for a certain application. It's UL listed to be direct burial wire, and that's it. It's not UL listed to be ran underneath your car or whatever,
Right. And just a quick example. I know when we had a DAP lab when I worked at Quizell, we had a self-testing laboratory and all of that. And we got into this an awful lot. An outdoor fixture will be rated up to 90 degrees Celsius. That means the outside surface can get up to 90 C, which is pretty hot. You can't take that same fixture and put it inside of a house, because then you get into people getting burned by it, children touching it, and I think that's where they feel that combustible material can start on fire at that temperature. So you definitely need to just be aware of that.
All right, this is getting way too techy. We're going to have to break this up right now and do a giveaway. Are you guys ready? Gift card giveaway. All right. So here we go, guys. The first person, if you are here live, make sure to be the first person to put it in the comments. It has to be the correct answer. Just the first person doesn't win. The first person with the correct answer will get a $50 gift card courtesy of me to thank you guys for being here live. So here's the question. It's a two-part question. You've got to give the answer in the correct order. I'm looking for basically two answers in the correct order. So in order to get them, you can't just provide both of the answers. You have to do in the correct order. Here we go. When a fixture is given an IP rating, IP standing for ingress protection, the first number indicates the level of protection from blank, while the second number indicates the level of protection from blank. So again, two-part answer. Tom, do not answer. Mr. CLVLT. When a fixture is given an IP rating, the first number indicates the level of protection from blank, while the second number indicates the level of protection from blank. Now, again, it's the first person to answer this. You should be able to comment on Facebook or YouTube, and it has to be in the correct order. So it has to be in the correct order. How I read the question will get $50 from me. And then whoever does win, by the way, shoot me a message so that we can get your address and stuff like that. So the first number, okay, when a fixture is given an IP rating, IP standing for ingress protection, the first number indicates the level of protection from blank, while the second number indicates the level of protection from blank. All right, so while we're waiting for the answers to come in, let's move on. We still have a couple more questions I want to get to before we end. Actually, let's talk about IP. How does that work? Well, do we have to wait because we don't want to give away the answer?
Yeah, I think we should wait.
Yeah, we don't want to give away the answer. We might come back to this. I don't think anyone's apparently we're not going to get as much involvement as I thought from this. Okay. That's Dennis, you're close. You're going to have to be more specific. Dennis said intrusion and moisture. He's really, really close, but I think he's going to have to be more specific on that.
Intrusion.
Yeah, because I mean, he's almost right.
What kind of intrusion? Worms?
Right, exactly. Because ingress stands for intrusion. So protecting it from what intruding? We'll come back to that. You guys, you have to answer this. I have to give away $50. When a fixture is given an IP rating, the first number indicates the level of protection from what, while the second number indicates the level of protection from what. All right, let's move on to the next question. We'll come back.
Yeah, the next question is going to take up the rest of the show.
Okay. What is the difference? Well, I want to ask you, what is the difference between a cheap LED lamp and a quality LED lamp?
Geez, it's kind of like everything that we've been talking about.
Because I can go buy a $2 MR16 on Amazon. Why would I buy an Emery Allen?
How long is it gonna last? What about if you buy two of them and you put them next to each other? You know, the color's going to be the same. You leave them in those fixtures for a period of time. Are the colors going to maintain any type of consistency? I mean, there's just so many different things that, you know, you really get what you pay for when you get into that.
Yeah, and I think to an installer, a contractor, designer, whatever you call yourself, I think those are most important, is like the color and output. Like those have to be on point. If you want to be a designer, if you want to be the best, if you want to be a good representation of quality, it's got to look good and it's got to last a long time. You know, I mean, if you're out there changing bulbs all the time, you're not going to make any money. So it's got to last. And the reason I bring this up is because I personally don't think your bulbs are outrageously priced, right? I mean, they're super competitive. But I see people, and this is before I even knew you, I saw people always trying to reinvent stuff like, oh, I can import this, or I can do that, or I can save $5 here and there. People are always trying to do that. And it drives me nuts because I'm like, if you're trying to grow your business, it's not about trying to cut your expenses. I mean, yeah, there's some opportunities if you can buy in volume and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's about working on your pricing and your sales and your value proposition. And you can't do that if you're using cheap stuff. So,
and you really need to put your best foot forward when you're, you know, doing, you know, a landscape job. You know, you're going to have neighbors seeing what you're doing and all of that. And if they see your truck out there over and over and over again, replacing things or color shifts or whatever, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You replace a bulb once, and whatever price you paid, you know, goes out the window.
Yep. No, 100%. All right. It looks like Dennis got it figured out. Maybe it was Tom's help. Maybe it was mine. I don't know. Maybe it was Google's help. But Dennis, congratulations, man. You just got yourself $50. Shoot me a message on Facebook if you would, so we can get your address and we'll get that sent out to you. Thanks everybody else for answering. We had some other correct answers come in, but they were after the time of Dennis. So thanks
Just one other thing about, the question that you had about a cheap bulb and all of that. We have a lot of test equipment here, and we are constantly testing our products and a lot of products out there. We bought bulbs off of Amazon and whatever, and done all of the testing. The biggest thing that comes up is the color temperature that they tell you the lamp is at is nowhere close. It can be 100K, 150K, up to 300K off. We've had one that we've tested from a pretty popular manufacturer that was over 500K off. And then the other thing is CRI. It's expensive to produce a bulb with 90 CRI because one of the things that you have to realize is that in order to get 90 CRI, you're actually putting more filters and everything over the top of that LED. And so typically what happens is the lumens go down quite a bit, 17%, 15%, something like that. So it's real easy for somebody to produce a 70 or 80 CRI lamp and get the lumens that they're advertising, but the color temperatures typically are off. So
yeah, gotcha. Well, Greg says hi. It's people come on and say hi to you, but they don't say hi to me. What's up, Greg? Seriously, what's going on? I like big bulbs, and I cannot lie. He does like big bulbs down there in Florida.
He likes good bulbs.
All right. The last question is a doozy. It's a bunch of them. James asked just kind of throwing out some topics. A lot of questions about power factor, VA versus wattage lately. So let's talk about that. Why does power factor matter? Why does center beam candle power, or what is it? Why does it matter? Like all these different things. And why should a professional even care about this stuff, or should they leave it up to the manufacturers?
Okay, we've got 8 minutes, is what I'm saying, to go through all of these, and I'll do it as quickly as possible without leaving anything out. So let's take power factor, VA, and watts first. Watts is the amount of energy being used to illuminate the bulb. That's all it is. Power factor is the efficiency of the total lamp. High power factor is a tough nut to crack, especially as the lamp gets smaller, because you have less room to put components on the inside of it. So, sometimes you'll increase the power factor, but you'll wind up decreasing the amount of lumens. So it's a real balance. VA, or volt amperes, we talk a lot about, is the amount of energy used to illuminate the bulb plus power up all of the components. LED chips run on DC current. When AC is converted to DC, there are changes and losses to the power, which attribute to the changes in the power factor, which attribute to the changes in the VA. How you control that with the components inside of your lamp is critical in order to produce high power factor and low VA. So there is a direct relationship to each other. And, if you have two of the numbers, it's easier to figure out the third one. Watts divided by VA is power factor, or watts divided by power factor is VA. The best thing to do is ask the manufacturer what the VA is if it's not on their spec sheets or on their lamps. So
that's a wonderful explanation, and that's kind of my next question is: are the manufacturers, are you guys going to start publishing the VA like on the boxes?
Right now, it's on all of our specification sheets. We didn't realize how important that it is to a lot of installers, and we are going to start putting it very soon on all of the boxes, on all of the lamps, wherever possible.
That's awesome. I mean, you think about like homeowners, they don't really care or need to know that stuff, but definitely from designing a system, and figuring out the layout and stuff like that, they're going to have to know that if they're not doing it in advance on the job site, whatever. So I think that would be helpful. And I don't, to my knowledge, I don't think a lot of manufacturers produce that. They might on the spec sheets or something like that, but with when you buy the product, I don't know that you're seeing the VA numbers.
Correct. I haven't, and it's something that we're going to change pretty quickly.
That'd be awesome. That'd be cool. No, I think that was, yeah, that was what I was going to ask about that. What else? Well, and
James also talked about the consistency in output and color in an aging bulb. You know, from the time that you plug in an LED lamp, it starts the process of lumen depreciation. When you hit L70 or 70% of the original illumination, that's when the IES, Energy Star, whoever you talk to, considers that product to be dead. So we try to minimize the lumen depreciation by controlling the heat, making sure you have good voltage, power factor, and all of that in your lamp. And the real key part of this, because I've seen people play around with this an awful lot, is they'll say, yeah, our bulbs or our whatever is good 50,000 hours, L70. Well, that's not really true. The chips go through L70, but I don't know of very many manufacturers that actually submit their products to go through the aging process of L70 to get to that 70%. So it just some of the things that you have to look out for.
well, and that's a good point. Like, how long should someone expect a fixture? An LED, like you said, is more than just the actual chip on board. There's so much more to it, because you've got to control the heat, you got to control the moisture, you got to control the surges and stuff that come into it. So how long should someone expect an Emery Allen lamp to last in a,
well, our lamps have been tested for L70 somewhere between 34 and 36,000 hours. We've done that through the state of California to get through JA8 and some of their regulations, but at a minimum, you should be expecting 25,000 hours out of an LED lamp. That would be bare bones minimum.
So I don't know, obviously it depends on how long you run your lights each night and everything else, but if it's 12 hours, you're at like 4,000 hours a year. So 6 to 7 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then what about like it gets freaking hot in the South. It's super hot down there. And then you go up north and it gets freaking cold.
Yeah.
What impact does that have on it? And are you still, as a manufacturer, willing to stand behind it, knowing that it could be an extreme heat and extreme cold?
Sure. Now, knowing that, and when we designed our MR16s for outdoor landscape lighting and all of that, we made sure that the components on the inside were going to take the heat. Standard components on the inside, capacitors, drivers, whatever, are rated at about 105 degrees Celsius. All of our components are 130 degrees Celsius minimum. So we have tested our products in a heat chamber and all of that, turned on 7 watts, turned on in a light fixture, turned up oven up to 125 degrees Fahrenheit, just to see how long it's going to last and what the failure is and all that. And we can confidently say that 125 degrees is not a problem for us. On the flip side of that, LEDs should last to minus 40 Celsius or Fahrenheit. That's about the temperature that some caps will start to fail. So that's quite a range, minus 40 to 125 degrees Fahrenheit. So
That's huge. I mean,
yeah.
I would think at some point the gaskets on the fixture would fail and allow moisture in, and then ice. And I mean, I feel like there's going to be other factors that influence it beyond that.
Could be. Our main concern is the bulb. I can't control what the fixtures are like. So, so that's the range that we're in.
All right, man. Well, listen, it was actually a lot of fun. I was worried it was just going to be like super boring and dry since we were talking technical stuff, but that was good. What we need to do, because I've got a bunch more questions about transformers and wire quality and other kind of install questions. What we're going to do, we need to do a YouTube video follow-up. So hold me accountable to that. Otherwise, I'll just try to get out of it and never do it. But let's do that. Let's plan on doing a YouTube video follow-up. We'll continue this discussion and get into it more. Remind people how they get in touch with you to get that contractor pricing and 10% off their first order and everything.
Tom G at emeryallen.com.
All right, guys. Listen, Tom, really appreciate you, man. And we'll see you. You're going to be at our event here coming up for Landscape Lighting Secrets. It's a landscape lighting mastermind in Park City. So we'll see you in just a couple weeks. Everybody
great.
else, thanks so much for thanks for being here. You guys have a good week. See y'all.